Hey everyone, Social Solipsist here for another episode of 52 and 52. And this week I am looking at E.Y.E. Divine Cybermancy, which is a game I actually picked up quite a few years ago now. I believe, if I remember correctly, I actually originally picked it up to play co-op with my friend Von Stapler, who I have some very old videos with. I say very old, they're 4 or 5 years old now. More than that, actually, I think. So that's pretty old on YouTube, on the internet. I originally picked it up to play co-op with him, and we never got around to it, and I never played it. Mostly because I knew from the moment I picked it up that it was not great. And I still picked it up anyway. And it's because I'm going to stand by my opinion here that this game deserves an award for having the biggest juxtaposition between its amazing ideas and its terrible execution. It's frankly impressive. The amount of effort that they put into some places and then fell flat in others. And I presume it's because the ideas people had some really great ideas and the execution people kind of fell through on not being able to make the grand scale of game that they wanted. Basically, this is a more or less a cyberpunk shooter in sort of some sort of weird future. And the first thing that you notice is just how awesome some of the character design stuff is. It's not so true for your enemies and stuff like that. They're kind of somewhat generic, but the main factions in the game, in the story of the game, it's pretty awesome. Some of the designs they've put in. Obviously, they're influenced by some existing properties, but also by a variety of historical armor types from different parts of the world, be it Asian or European, lots of kind of medieval inspired stuff. Others from religious iconography and things like that, and some of it's pretty great. Some of the weapons as well are pretty awesome. I mean, some of them are very, very generic, but I'm really fond of the sniper rifle you're going to see me using in this footage. Most of the time, just because I don't know, it's just kind of fun. It uses like a holographic sight and it's got a silencer and it's two-step, and it's just kind of, it's just unique enough for it to be kind of fun. The problems start probably in the choice of engine. And I would assume it's in no small part to the time at which this was made. I don't have an exact date in front of me, but it's long enough ago that this was kind of this was, prior to the era of multiple game engines being free or very low price to develop on. And so they chose the source engine to work in, which it was old then. It's even older now. It shows its age very, very clearly. It does some things pretty darn well, and a lot of things not very well. Not the least of which is hitboxes, and just shooting in general has never been its strong suit. Anybody familiar with the Counter-Strike versus Counter-Strike Source debacle will be abundantly familiar, or even just TF2, people complaining about hitboxes and trash like that, and just hit inaccuracy. But that's sort of a minor thing. It also doesn't look great, partially because of the fact that it's in sort of an old engine. Admittedly, I'm sure some of that is due simply to the fact that the budget they had, the art that they could commission, the work that could be done, and not just the engine. But the engine doesn't help. And Yeah, the gunplay is not great. You know, a lot of the graphics aren't great. The Beyond that, I mean, it is one of the most ambitious games I've honestly ever seen. And it was made by a team of 12 people, I believe, at the time, um, with little to no funding, if I remember correctly. Like, there was not a lot of money that went into this. Um, and it is extraordinarily ambitious. The number of various systems that you can use to navigate the world, be it through hacking or psionics, which is basically just magic, or like a dozen other different, methods of getting through the world and interacting with the world, it's pretty incredible, what they aspired to do. Unfortunately, pretty much none of it is executed well, and absolutely none of it whatsoever is ever explained very well. You're dropped in, and you better look at the control list, because that's the only way you're going to even start to find out what to do. There is a whole dedicated tutorial menu if you hit T, and there's a whole bunch of tutorial videos. But that is literally the only way to get tutorials, and the videos are long and plodding, and there's no way to skip through them, like scan through them at all. You gotta watch the whole video from beginning to end, and it's just like you could sit there for 2 hours and watch all the tutorials, but it's just not good design, amongst other things. There's a lot of really bad design. Speaking of design, the level design. Holy shit, is the level design atrocious, and the AI spawns, and it is just not fun. It's just not fun going through the world. If it had the kind of polish that a game like Deus Ex Human Revolution, I'm using that one because I have not played the new one yet. Don't anybody tell me anything, I'll kill you. If it had, it's easy to compare the two games, not because they're actually all that similar. They're honestly pretty different. But if it, having the shooter with a bunch of, other ways to get through the world, it's hard not, and the cyberpunk setting, it's hard not to compare them a bit. And if it had the kind of polish that all those systems had, and arguably Deus Ex was much less ambitious in all of the things it wanted to be able to do. If it had that sort of polish, this could have been really incredible. But I don't think this footage that you're seeing here even does justice to just how unpleasant some of the combat and the spawns and whatnot are later. And I'm also aware, I played more after this footage, and there was a bunch more stuff that I slowly learned that I didn't even learn by exploring menus. Like, I just happened to stumble upon it, or I really dug into like the wiki or something to find out what to do. This whole mission that you're watching right now, I only realized in watching this footage back. You may or may not be able to see it, but there's a few frames where that guy I meet at the beginning of this level, there's a few frames right as I'm walking past him where he cloaks and I don't, because he doesn't say anything about cloaking, and I don't have a cloaking module, and it never tells me to get a cloaking module. I should have known. That's basically the logic. I should have known to pick up a cloaking module on my way out of town. But I never did that, so I had to take the hard way through, with varying levels of success. It's honestly really disappointing just because of how much potential I feel like this has, and how just like words cannot explain how badly this plays. Like, you can see it, but it doesn't do it justice. Yeah, I mean, I really can't say a whole lot more than that on that subject. other minor things like the team is French and clearly the translation was not done by a native English speaker because, or if they were a native English speaker, they didn't speak it well because, wow, some of the translation is rough or just not even a sentence. It's not like actual trash like when you know it's not like what do you call it, like the horrible Chinese to English translations you see on Chinese goods and stuff like that. It's not that bad, but you'll see in a few places where it's kind of hilarious how weirdly stilted the dialogue is. But again, I got to give them points for trying. Like the story is there, the factions and whatnot that are all fighting it out are pretty interesting. They had the potential, but I don't have the patience to find out whether it gets any better or whether it pans out in a satisfying manner. I don't regret this purchase. I mean, it was years ago and everything, and I originally actually, the first time I played it co-op with Spencer. We played it for maybe a half an hour or an hour, and we had a fun time with it being terrible. And then I later this week, which was several weeks after we originally played it, I put some solo time into the story mode. But yeah, I don't regret the purchase at all. I do feel it's worth mentioning though. The team that made this is also the team that is making the new Space Hulk game, which I have up here somewhere if I can flip to it. Space Hulk Deathwing, which actually it's upcoming, and it looks awesome. Obvious it remains to be seen how it turns out, but it looks pretty great. The footage they've put out looks pretty great. I'm always a fan of people doing stuff with the 40K license, and I don't know. Hopefully their execution on it is better than this. It certainly looks from the footage like it is. It looks great. So I'm hopeful that, their experience on this game hopefully they've learned a lot from that, and they'll put it into 40K, into the Space Hulk game, and then maybe one day they'll come back and redo this or expand on an idea like this one more, an original idea, semi-original, I should say. Yeah, it was fun to play for a couple of hours. It was a good experience. All shittiness aside, I don't regret it. So yeah, I think after that little bit of rambling, that's it for this week. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time.